everyone. Glad to be here, and also glad to really take some of the concepts that Susan kicked off for us tonight and click into those. We're going to talk about them in terms of what the impact is on the business models that we're operating in with our economy today, with the energy environment, and especially toward the latter half of my very short presentation, we'll talk a little bit about what our clients that we work with are doing with those new technologies, that new environment that Susan talked about. So I have the honor of leading marketing and software product strategy for the energy and sustainability services business. And our job as about 2,000 individuals around the globe working with broader Schneider Electric, our job is really to help clients, the more global, the more complex, the more thorny the problems, the better, to plan their global strategies around energy and sustainability. And so to talk about some of the trends that we're seeing in the marketplace, certainly that complexity and the opportunity coming out of that complexity is something that we're talking to our clients about all the time. You realize certainly that when a concept is hitting the media as strongly as the fourth industrial revolution, that it has legs. And so what we have seen over, really to anchor you back to the revolutions that have preceded it, certainly we're familiar with steam, electrical computing, and now many people, you can find all kinds of ink spilled around it, are calling IoT the fourth of those really transformative revolutions. If you go back to that revolution 2.0 there, electrical power, you really see that things haven't changed that much from a technology perspective in terms of the fact that electricity is still generated in a central way and consumed in a more distributed manner. But we're starting to see that change significantly. And part of the reason is because of this change in technology. It is coming together with many technologies at once. To this list that I'll add and that Susan kicked off, I'd add battery storage. I'd add electric vehicles. These things, as we hit widespread adoption, are really changing that environment. The disruption that's being caused is in part by the speed of adoption of these technologies. These numbers that Susan quoted are a lot of them about where the market is going. Some of these are here today already. For example, IoT devices. Susan shared some forecasts of the growth by 2025 being 75 billion. We already have 8 billion of those here today. Energy storage, she talked about the drop in prices, 70-odd% since 2009. That's contributing to a forecast of from 5 to 300 gigawatt-hour growth by 2030. Artificial intelligence and the way that Google is using it in their data centers, that's another topic that's been in the news lately. They're using artificial intelligence to understand their usage patterns, coupling that with the forecast, and they're actually becoming incredibly more efficient in the way that they're actually using electricity. Susan talked about decentralization of energy. In Germany, we see that 1.5 million households are already effectively operating their own microgrids. Some of those are transacting on a peer-to-peer basis. These are technologies that are going to be disruptive, and no one on its own will make a difference. But together, we're seeing the opportunity really to transform the way that we transact. So previously, with that system having been unidirectional, now it's not only the prevalence of distributed generation that's coming online, but we're no longer thinking of that demand side as consumption only. Demand, as it used to be known, can now actually contribute back to the grid. Now that's not a new concept, right? In fact, I, with a previous employer, used to come to Ontario frequently. And many of you probably have in your homes, radio-controlled communicating thermostats. It's a technology that's reliable, it works well, it's been around for a long time. At periods of peak consumption, you can shed load. But relative to what we can do today, and even more so tomorrow with the connected devices in your plants, in your buildings, in your companies, and even in your homes, it's a relatively blunt instrument. Now it's going to be more nuanced to support your business processes. It may be that, yes, absolutely, you will continue to work with your utility, and you will facilitate potentially transactions with the person sitting next to you in the seat. So your utilities are coming up with new business models, and the corporations that are including these devices in their forward thinking are ready as these transformations are becoming. Because in the end, the technology isn't the driver, it's the enabler of the business model that makes you really able to drive more operational efficiency for your organization. It helps you to realize those new business models, and increasingly, the technologies taking place here are enabling incorporation of renewables. And we are finding that that is a key component of a resilient organization. How that company can react to enhance its brand in a way that really drives its future strategy. And so as we talk about future strategies with our clients, one of the things that they want to know is, well, what do our peers think? What do others think in the marketplace? So we went out and did a third-party survey with a company called GreenBiz. We talked to 240 energy and sustainability leaders, and we found some good news. About 85% of companies feel prepared to engage in a competitive way in that new energy future. But what's interesting is as you start to dig one layer deeper, you realize that we need to move faster on the implementation in support of that new energy future. And actually, when you start to dig into it, the connection between various parts of the organization, energy and sustainability, to work together isn't there yet. Those devices, they're not prevalent enough yet in our facilities. A related statistic is that only about 40% of corporations actually have a global data management strategy, which is another foundational requirement to really be able to optimize. 30% have the technologies, whether it's storage, whether it's demand response, that is really going to allow you to engage with those new business models to the full extent that you could. So this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. If you looked at the first slide and recognized yourself, you're in good company. Many people are thinking ahead. They're thinking about what we need to do to be competitive. But you also recognize that many people are still at the beginning of this long-term pursuit of the opportunity that is in front of us. And so a resilient organization with resiliency on everybody's tip of their tongue, it's about preparation. And so what I want to talk to you next is what resilient organizations are starting to do today. So with the complexity that we've talked about, it becomes imperative to think about it in a simple way. And if you think about the various strategies that touch energy and sustainability around your corporation, some of these may be your role, some of these may be outside your role. They can be loosely grouped into three primary disciplines. You have procurement, or how you buy energy, how you optimize not only what tariff you're on today, but maybe you even think ahead and purchase energy in advance to mitigate the risk of energy price fluctuations. There's efficiency. So how do you use energy? The best money saved is the money you didn't spend. And so how do you optimize that while still being able to service your business's needs? Sustainability is really about purchasing green energy, but also recognizing the impact of other resource usage in your environment, whether that's water, waste, a host of other things, and obviously your carbon footprint is one of the primary drivers. So Susan talked about these big threats and big opportunities of digitization, decarbonization, and decentralization. And the companies that are best prepared to act upon these are using data in a way that allows them to connect those disciplines so that you're not just procuring energy, but you are thinking about how the energy that you procure has an impact upon your brand and the sustainable image that you bring in the marketplace. So whether you realize it or not, Everyone in this room is at one step or another on this journey. We're all taking this journey together at various speeds. So for those of you who may just be starting, you may find that you're beginning to optimize the way that you purchase energy. You may be starting to work with a third party to make sure you're getting the best rates in the best markets. You may also, on a site-by-site basis, be thinking about how you use that energy in your environment, within your plants, and so on. As organizations get more sophisticated, as they start to think in a little bit more integrated way, a classic next step would be to say, how do I use that information that we have around where I'm using energy to optimize? So one example would be an aluminum company that we worked with. They have 24 energy-intensive sites all over the globe. And they came to us and said, with our supply data, we worked together to identify the plants that most needed optimization. Also, the things that they could do within those plants, whether it was various energy efficiency measures, purchasing their energy in a different way. We embarked upon a single pilot site. That one pilot site is expected to yield in its first 3 years 1.1 million euros savings each year. The measures that we implemented have a payback of less than 2 years. We're going to be embarking on another 6 sites in 2018, and here comes that green bubble. They're starting participation in the Global Reporting Initiative to make sure that there's an awareness in the marketplace of what they're doing and to continue that virtuous cycle. So that's an example, but we find then as we continue down that journey, the techniques that we can bring in become more sophisticated. These don't all evolve at the exact same time. They evolve in different ways for different clients. Sometimes Schneider Electric isn't doing all of this for our clients, and that's fine. We actually have a great dynamic where we're driving strategy, helping to optimize the various pieces, and really helping our clients to look forward. So I can stand here in front of you and tell you about this, but the best way is when I ask our clients to speak on our behalf. So I'll ask you to watch a 2-minute video with me.
For the ASICS Group, active energy management means insight in energy use in the different locations that we have around the world, which is offices, distribution centers, retail locations, and be able to see trends, peaks, lows, and identify opportunities for improvement.
So our active energy management actually is pretty new. Today we are still, I think, on an incremental change. We are waiting for disruption. We are working hard on it actually to innovate. And we believe that in the future, and in the very near future, we are going to be more and more disruptive actually to reach our goal. So we benefit every day. It's a long journey and it's a way to go, definitely.
I think today's environment with energy is a different place than it was maybe 20 years ago. I think it's discussed at board level far more frequently. People take it a bit more seriously. I think the whole carbon reduction thing has kind of brought the attention of senior managers to this agenda. It's looking at new technology, it's trying to understand new technology and the impact that it's going to be in 10, 15, 20 years' time.
Active energy management for our company means that it's a contribution to protect our margins. And the margins is what we are living for.
We did 7 workshops in 7 very different plants. And so we managed to find between 7% and 20% of potential saving, considering the global energy bill of the site. So that's huge and that's very encouraging.
So tonight I touched on a lot of concepts, none of them in any great depth, but I hope that I piqued your curiosity enough that it might get you interested in exploring. Maybe it's just taking a step to call someone in your organization that maybe in a related discipline when you get back tomorrow that you wouldn't have called before, just to start to explore what is the next step on our journey to take advantage of these new business models that we are seeing emerge. I'm happy to chat later. I will be around. My colleague Rose will also be standing on this side of the room. I don't see her over there now, but happy to go into more depth at that time. Thank you for listening.